Okay, very good. We got you. And move to your right just a bit. That's it. That's it. No, no. That's it. Okay. All right. We got Texas Representative Ron Reynolds, but he's going to give the floor to you, Congressman.
My brother Ron, what's up, young man?
Hey man, good to see you, buddy.
Man, y'all done gave us all these problems, man.
I see. Hey, but you built for it, man. I've been seeing you in action. I've been watching.
Seeing you, I'm proud of you, my brother.
Proud of you, man. You holding the light high, man. You doing what you got to do to represent, man.
Would you all please be quiet so I can get this started?
I'm
Late. Oh my goodness! My brother's got to catch a plane, so I
all
know
right.
he's got stuff to do, and he likes to get in and out like our father did. Okay, but I love you all. So hey, everybody, the Santita Jackson Show coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let's talk about our voting rights. The voting rights are on the chopping block. The Voting Rights Act, which really brought into fruition part of the slave amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, freeing us from slavery, giving us the right to vote, and making us citizens. They were all tied together, but there is a gunning that we are watching right now. I want to know what Congressman Jonathan Jackson heard. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, he said Texas has brought all of this upon the nation. And I'm just wondering what is happening here, what this will mean. Could we lose a third of the Congressional Black Caucus? Could that happen? Could you lose your seat, Congressman Jonathan Jackson? I mean, this is a lot. And would this filter down to the state level? Please meet me at Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social. I'm at Santita J on X, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. So let's get right to it. Congressman Jonathan Jackson from the 1st Congressional District of Illinois. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Great to see you. Great to see you, my senator. Hey, brother Ron.
Well, he's on mute, but that's all right.
Okay, no, I got you
Man,
now.
always excited to be on the same panel with you, my brother.
Okay, I
Congressman,
got the volume right.
I know you are on the run today. Tell us what you've seen, because you were very, very eager to really see what was happening at the Supreme Court. You've been talking for months about this Louisiana case, and now the corporate media are saying, wait, if Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Roberts, this has been the crown jewel of his legal work to undo the Voting Rights Act. What could happen if this case, if we lose this case, the Louisiana case?
Well, keep in mind that the Supreme Court does not make any narrow decisions. And if I can take one step back, digress for a moment, what happened in Plessy versus Ferguson, which shocked the nation in 1896, was an African-American 7/8 white, which they called an octoroon at that time, we simply know as light skin, bought a first-class ticket. It was a test case to make sure that he could be able to sit anywhere that he wanted to as a black man with purchasing a ticket. Ultimately went to the United States Supreme Court, and it was determined, no, he cannot sit next to whites. That created the black codes, that created the laws of segregation, that created a black graveyard, a white graveyard, a black hospital, a white hospital, a black nursing home, white nursing home. It had ripples all throughout, all the way to segregation of the armed services. It got codified into law. And so that started with purchasing of a train ticket around Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a first-class ticket that was purchased for. So what could be the ramifications? Well, this would be part 3, if you will, what we saw happen in Students for Fair Admissions, where they said you cannot have race-conscious decisions, which has been totally misinterpreted, misrepresented, in my opinion, and saying Harvard founded 1636, University of North Carolina founded 1789. They're both as older than the 1789 is when the United States Congress was finally developed, that you can't have this consideration. Now the president has weaponized that. And so be it for the NIH, the National Institute of Health, they cannot look at black, female, infant mortality rates. They cannot look at Black health disparities and outcome. They can't look at minority DBE programs, MBE programs, even funding for the Expo for Today's Black Woman is getting corporate pushback because it's using the word Black, saying you can't even talk to this consumer group. And that'll have the effect in media and people's buying habits. So essentially, if it's Black, you have to stay away or get back from it. If this happens and goes against us at the United States Supreme Court for these gerrymander, for these districts that have to deal with proportionality and representation of marginalized groups, what can happen? And I shudder when I think about it. It means that the majority party can really engage in tyranny and tear up all of these redistricting areas. These 9 unelected people, the United States Chief Justices, can upend all the elections around the nation. That's not an exaggeration. What could that look like? Not only are you talking about the districts for the congressional in the states, you're talking about the state legislatures can use this same tool. So as we talk about state senators that are African Americans that have districts that are carved up, they can be gerrymandered legally. The state reps, the county commissioners, the city council, it would have a wide-ranging effect. We're talking about decades and decades of progress will be shredded up overnight.
What did we hear with the questioning? It seems like Justice Kavanaugh, he was taking the lead on the questioning. It sounds like they are going to rule against what they would call this colorblind, rule in favor of a colorblind society. That is throwing the history of racism in the country under the bus or throwing it out the window.
Oh my gosh. It is to have to do all the math is just like, is just staggering. Texas is it. Just take that as a microcosm. And thank you for your leadership, Brother Ron. What happened just in the new millennium in Texas is, let's start with 2010, where you've got 4 million new people to move into the state of Texas, and there's not one new Hispanic or African American district. Just in the last decade, how can that be so? When every 750,000 people that are entered, you're supposed to have some level of reapportionment. Well, the reapportionment was gerrymandered. So they kept the majority of those Republican districts. And now, because the United States Supreme Court is even looking at talking about this case, the Louisiana versus Callis, they were signaling, nod, nod, wink, wink, go steal seats in Texas. Okay? While the cat is out, the mice can go play. Go steal those seats. California tried to do something that I'm not a big fan of. We'll take 5 seats back. Democrats, we can't win that game because there are 30 supermajority Republican states. There are only 19 or so Democratic controlled states, and the Democrats aren't going to have the stomach muscles to even go through on these redistricting. We cannot win that game. This can give a decade's advantage to the Republican incumbents. These lines, when they go away, I've been trying, I felt like I've been in the wilderness, just trying to say there's nothing more important. We can't talk about Medicaid and having the necessary votes to have the speakership if we're not in the chamber to vote. We can't talk about preserving a congressional district if we don't have our state senators in the Capitol drawing the maps for us to win. So they're saying you got to take race off the lane altogether. It would be a disaster for us.
What can we over-index in voting? That is, if can we, when President Obama ran for presidency the first time, it turns out, of course, Dr. Ron Walters had the data that showed that Black people voted in such increased numbers that we over-indexed in the vote. Could we do that? Could we, you've got 900,000 Black and brown people in Texas who are unregistered to vote. What would happen if we just registered them in Texas, for example, and just all of these people these people of color, these young people who are unregistered? Could that help to offset the impact of what could happen here.
Absolutely, and that is the only path forward. You have to overwhelm the polls. As a rule of thumb, they say that people in their 20s vote 20% of the time, people in their 50s 50% of the time, people in the 70s vote 70% of the time. That they tend to correlate with those demographics. Young America has to come alive. Young America has to stand up and have their votes counted. They have to go from being students that are unregistered to distinguished constituents when they are registered. They can confront the housing crisis. They can confront the healthcare crisis. They can confront the automation and how we're looking at work into the future. They can talk about where pension dollars are invested in the United States of America. We should be looking at big issues such as AI. There's going to be less work in the future. How can we tax this technology appropriately so that more people can have a happier, healthier, more beneficial life?
So, you've heard that Senator Bernie Sanders believes that AI could cost us 100 million jobs. You don't think that that's an exaggeration?
I wouldn't go out on that number, but it's going to be staggering.
Okay.
And you can see that every day now. What does it look like? It looks like the self-check scans at the restaurants. I mean, at the fast food. So that's less cashiers. It looks like more automation that's absolutely happening. That's going to be in food preparation. It's going to look like the biggest industry is driving. It's going to look like when driverless cars take over people that have driving responsibilities. So yes, it will be a staggering numbers. You go into the hospital, you can see the automated carts going through certain hospitals that's delivering medicine. Yeah, it's going to be a staggering number, Santita. It can be great for the future, great possibilities, but it has to have an offset because now we're creating more billionaires faster, and it's coming at the expense of people working. So we have to figure out how to temper the technology with having a greater societal benefit.
Before you go, help me to understand the government shutdown.
Mm.
We're on the 16th day, is it?
Yes.
And now people are beginning to get paid, but they're getting partial paychecks. Um, and the president is saying that he's targeting, I guess, Democrat held jobs. Um, can that happen? And what is going on, Congressman? I mean,
Well, the short of it is that in this one big, ugly billionaire bill that was passed, that the president signed on the 4th of July, it was passed strictly on partisan lines with no Democratic vote. There was no floor hearings. There was no floor debate, Senator Ron. Can you imagine that? That there are no debates. There's no Democratic amendments were ever considered. So Republicans have a majority, 218 votes now in the House of Representatives, and the Democrats have a majority in the United States Senate. It's the rule that you need 60% of the senators to pass your budget to get this bill across the finish line. It's a stopgap. People that are in the Senate are able to see further, and they get to look beyond this election. That's how it was designed, where they have 6-year terms, and a third of those terms are coming up every year. So 1/3 that are expiring on 6 years happen next year. The next will happen in 4 years, and there'll be another group in 6 years. So as they look out over the long term, they're like, this isn't good for the society. You can't kick 16 million people off of the Medicaid that has to deal with the people that are the most indigent in our society. And in turn, they need 60 votes. They have 54 at present, and 46 Democrats have voted against it. So it means you have to compromise. Trump says no compromise. The speaker says no compromise. When you take out that $1 trillion out of our healthcare systems, you're going to see a chain of hospitals closing. You're going to see people more vulnerable and people sicker unnecessarily. And what the Democrats are asking is restore those subsidies back into the affordable care exchange market so that we can keep health clinics open. We can't stand to see 16 million people. And the number is even rising because some markets, the affordable care is cheaper than your private pay healthcare insurance. So the numbers could be 16 actually the 22 million. They just passed out $5 trillion in tax refunds to the wealthiest and moved that money up. If we didn't have any money, we wouldn't have tax cuts. We have the money. They've chosen to give it a disproportionate to the wealthiest 1%. Santita, the money is there to keep these programs available. This is a level and an era of greed that's been unmatched. And you would see a chain of hospitals closing. If you think healthcare is bad now, it would get much worse faster. And people, and you can measure the amount of people that are going to die that cannot afford their medicine.
Do you see any other Marjorie Taylor Greens out there who are moving in the direction of let's save healthcare?
I know some great people that are out there. I take my hat off and I applaud the great Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. On this, we have 100% alignment. On releasing of the Epstein files, we have 100% alignment. I know her to be a thoughtful person. I think she represents a part of her constituency extremely well. And so for that, I'm proud. And for her taking this courageous step. And we have to tone down this rhetoric. No lawmakers should be threatened with physical violence. We abhor the violence. She deserves to be respected. She deserves to be respected. And this bullying and gangsterism that's happening on the other side is putting great legislators in harm's way that are Republicans that want to speak up. She's fearless. Okay, she's doing this at great peril. And so I look at her as a friend. Oh yeah, it's dangerous for them to be able to stand out of line. The president, when he released all these people on January 6th, people that had killed a police officer, he's shown that he has a predilection, a favor for like violence, and he has put fear into a lot of members. A lot of members would do something different if they weren't getting so many death threats.
What do you want us to know? I mean, it seems that the Democrats have dug in their heels on healthcare. I'm grateful for it because I'm already seeing my premiums rise. And I can only imagine what other people are having to deal with. I mean, people are beginning to ration their insulin, Congressman. I mean, insulin and other life-saving drugs. The Yale study shows that at least 50,000 people will die every year, at least. So help me to understand what is there anything that you need us to do?
Well, this coming Saturday, please join one of the No Kings, No Crowns marches in a city near you. People have to come out to the streets, call your representatives, particularly the Republicans, say, I need my health care. One of the big issues with health care is people don't know the names of Medicaid. Medicaid also goes by a lot of different private names. It could be part of the CHIPS. It could be part of the SoCal. It could be part of the state insurance plan, and they have private label names. So you think that, oh, I'm down on Medicaid. I've got Molina. I've got this other brand. No, look and see. That's a Medicaid program. So a lot of people don't even realize the program they're on is Medicaid.
Well, a lot of people don't even realize that how much of a difference the subsidies make in our lives. Congressman, is there anything you'd like to say before you go?
No, love you, Santita. Keep up the great work. Brother Reynolds, so proud of you. So proud of the leadership that you've shown down there in Texas. And you've been the bulwark. You've started this mass resistance.
Yes,
people saw the Texas legislature step up and handle your business under that tyrant of Governor Greg Abbott. And let me tell you this here. Why don't you run for governor? The sooner we can get Greg Abbott out of there, the better. Greg Abbott, the governor, he sent the migrants to Chicago.
That's right.
He created the problem, and then Trump says he's coming to fix the problem that Abbott created. Then get Abbott out of there.
That's right.
He sent children up here across state lines.
Thank you for breaking that down.
Children. That ought to be a case. I had written out to the Justice Department and Homeland and Security, as well as to the Health and Human Services. Children came up, driven from Texas under the Lone Star program, unaccompanied minors.
That's right.
Trafficking children. And then he says he's against DEI. DEI also has to deal with inclusivity and accessibility. That has to deal with the curb cuts so that people that may have different physical needs can have access to ramps and other things so they can be mobile. He's been a beneficiary of that. He's he's a living hypocrite. I mean,
That's
I
right.
can't understand that about him. He ought to be shamed, and somebody ought to stand up and run against this man. He's creating so many problems, and now he wants to steal congressional seats.
Mm.
Brother Jackson, I could not
Yeah,
have summed it up much better. You said a mouthful, but it is all true, and I will work vigorously to help get him defeated because he's on the ballot for November 2026.
that's right.
Unbelievable.
I'm all in. Help, let me help, please.
Congressman, before you go, we got Reverend Darrell Gray, of course, our dear brother,
Hey,
the
Reverend
beloved
Gray.
Kevin Gray's
How
son,
you doing, Congressman?
not son, his brother, from the Progressive Baptist Convention. He's the director of social action. We're so glad to have him with us today.
It's a pleasure. And thank you, Santita, for inviting. And I know that the congressman has to leave. But before you leave, Congressman, we've been, of course, you know, I've been following you ever since you were about that big.
And
And
I was that wide.
we and we really are so very proud of you. We've watched you grow. We see the work. Please know that we do see the work that you're doing, people around this country. And we see you. We know it's in the DNA. We know it comes from your mother and your father and the rest of your family members. But please know, as the representative said, anything that we can do, and I'm glad that you pointed that out about Governor Abbott. We've been talking about that all week. He sent the so-called problem to Chicago. He created the so-called Chicago problem. He created it. And it was all deliberate. It was all strategic. They knew when they sent immigrants to Chicago, they knew what was going to happen next. And unfortunately, Congressman, we have been playing chess. They have been playing, we've been playing checkers. They've been playing chess. It's all out of the 2025 playbook. But we're glad that you are on the front line. We're glad that Representative Reynolds is on the front line. We're glad that your sister is on the front line because we've got to provide this information through the type of media outlets that Santita is providing, that Jamal Bryant is providing, that Roland Martin is providing, that Joy Reid is providing, that others are providing. And we got to go back to what worked back in the day. We got to go back and make sure that you, the three of you, get this information to our churches and mosques and synagogues and congregations so that we can clearly and effectively rally the troops on the ground. That's what your father did. That's what Dr. King did, Dr. Abernathy, Hosea. Well, first of all, you know the role, you know the list, you know the list.
It sounds like music to me.
So we're ready to work with you, Congressman. Call upon Progressive Baptists. Our national president, Dr. Peoples, is prepared to work with you. Just let us know. Call us. And yeah, what's their name? Just call my name, and we'll be there.
Well, listen here, Reverend Gray. On another note, I am the bipartisan co-chair of the annual National Prayer Breakfast. So I keep our faith alive up here. Let's plan on getting members of the church community, and we have access to the facilities, the venues. So long as we have a congressional representative, we have access. Let's bring our church community up here. We need to pray over these stones.
Let's bring all of them. We met, and Santita, actually, she planted the seed the other day on the show. We met the other day with all of the director generals of social justice for 8 different Black conventions, AME, CME, AME Zion, Church of God in Christ, National Baptist, Progressive Baptist. We met with all of them, Congressman, and we're trying to put together a strategy. So anytime, whenever you're ready, just let Santita know, let me know. You've got my number, and we'll get whoever you need to there. It's like I said, we're at your call.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be in South Carolina, I think October 25th. I'll give you the details.
Okay, looking forward to it. Lawrence told me.
Okay, love you, and God bless your brother in heaven.
God bless you.
We
Thank
certainly
you so
miss
much.
him.
Thank you
for Thank you for staying on the battlefield with the Grays.
Thank you, sir.
Love you, man.
I love you.
Love you. All right, Gray.
I love you, Congressman.
Love you, Santita.
My brother Johnny, I love you.
Love you more. Girl, you a piece of work.
I couldn't help it. Just don't call me Santita Biscuit, Sweet Biscuit Lee.
Oh,
See you tomorrow. All right, baby. Bye.
Go now. Thank you. Oh my gosh. He introduced me at an event with that name. And people actually thought my name was Santita Sweet Biscuit Lee.
It was me, and
I am going to make him pay.
I
But
want,
you know
I wanted
what?
to hear that part.
No.
Representative, I wanted to hear that part. I don't know
No,
about you. I wanted to hear
let
that
him
part.
Me
go.
too. Me too. Inquiring minds want to know.
He needs to go now. They were honoring our grandmother. How about that part? Okay.
All right.
I was like, really? Anyway, but I know that you're running, State Representative Ron Reynolds. That my brother made you a senator. He's giving you
I know. He upgraded me. Hey, upgrade, governor, all that.
No. You're running things in the state house.
Amen.
So wait. Now hold on. Now you second in line to run the Democrats. So do exactly what you're doing. But that having been said, we've got a lot going on. We do have the government lockdown. I'm glad we were able to ask him about that, because we do need them to hold the line on healthcare, because healthcare is already unaffordable. It's the number one driver of bankruptcies in America today. Well, I think we need a universal single payer system. Every time it's come up, the right wing, they did it under Trump. Not under Trump, under Truman, excuse me. Black people are going to get under Teddy Roosevelt, under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The fear was that Black people were going to get something they didn't deserve, which was free health. Well, my mother says you can't hurt me without hurting yourself. So now nobody has it, and everybody's going to broke trying to keep it. State Representative Ron Reynolds, we are looking at this case, Louisiana case, that is before the Supreme Court. When you listen to the questioning, it seems to be very, very clear that this 40-plus year project of Chief Justice John Roberts is about to come to fruition. That is to say, everybody's got that one thing, as they said in the movie The City Slickers, that one thing that drives them. That one thing that has driven Chief Justice Roberts has been the upending of the Voting Rights Act.
That's right.
If you read if you study him at all, and you should study him, because when people have these hearings, they're not being honest with us about who they are and about what makes them tick. What makes him tick at every turn, and they have been as soon as we got the Voting Rights Act in 1965. That's what Reverend Jackson has tried to tell us, slave masters never retire. They started trying to do it on that day. So talk to me, because you are already on track. We could lose Jasmine Crockett. We could lose Mike Vesey. We could lose Al Green. And that's just in Texas. But we heard Congressman Jackson say that if we have a full-on voter registration campaign and get these people to vote, we can beat them at this.
That's right.
And mind you, John, I'm not just talking about the Democrats. There is a difference between the Democrats and the Republicans at this time. When we're talking politics, do Democrats give me everything or much of what I want? No. But when I look at what the Democrats offer as opposed to what the Republicans offer, I have to stand with them, because we're in a binary system. I cannot wait for the day that changes. Until it does, this is what I've got. Because we're talking politics, not we're talking politics, not my imagination. Just my imagination runs away with me. Okay? Thank you, Temptations. That does not work. In real life, I've got a choice. And when we grow up in our politics, we will not have a binary choice. You'll be able to vote the way you want and vote to a person. But right now, if Congressman Jackson showed us, Representative Reynolds, if they take this away, it'll be like Plessy versus Ferguson. It's going to unplug everything. So you tell me, what do you see? Because they're trying to unplug his seat. He didn't say that. I found that out. They're trying the seat that Congressman Jackson is trying to get back. They're trying to unplug that. Now, mind you, that's our governor's call. They're going after those two seats in particular. So going from 50% black district to 40% barely for Congressman Jackson, Jonathan Jackson. For Congressman Jesse Jackson, it would go down to 30%. And mostly rural. So there's that. I'm not saying that they can't win. I'm just saying we're watching this happen all over the country.
Right.
So when you look at this case, what do you see, Representative Reynolds?
Well, first of all, I think your brother, Congressman Jackson, spelled it out exactly what I was concerned about. The concerns that I raised um, yesterday about not just the congressional seats, but it trickling down to state representative, state senator, county commissioner, city council. All of that is very foreseeable. This particular decision would be catastrophic. It would reverberate around the country. It wouldn't stop in Texas or Illinois.
Right.
It would go Mississippi, every state in the country. And I believe that many seats would be wiped out with the stroke of the pen and what could be a 5-4 decision or 6-3, whatever it is. If we lose it, it will be felt for generations. This wouldn't just be an election cycle. It wouldn't be just, oh, well, we'll wait to the next election. No, this would be, it could be generations. So I'm very concerned about this decision. I do believe with the line of questioning that was done by the justices that their decision has already been made. I pray that I'm wrong about that. But if this decision does go afoul, then it will be a very dark day for many people in this country. And so, Santita, we're going to have to do this. Will be, I can't, this is a wake up call. That's a wake up call. This will be a real living nightmare.
What would it look like? I mean, just on the state level, because
I'll tell you what it would look like. It would
you
look,
are struggling right where you are.
it would look like special legislative sessions like we just had called across the country to redistribute
Right.
based on this decision, where they would be able to do it without any limitations. You would see jigsaw puzzle legislative districts, city council districts, county commissioner districts. They wouldn't have to have any rhyme or reason or any communities of interest. They could pack and crack. They wouldn't have any kind of continuity. They could stretch them out rural. It just would be very painful to see where people would not be able to elect a candidate of their choice.
Right.
And that is the real frustration, Santita, is that we could really, it would give gerrymandering on steroids. That's the best way to describe it. We've already seen gerrymandering, but we would see it at its worst, is what we would see. So I think that this decision, if it does happen, the downside would be felt immediately in many states that were very aggressive to redraw. And I think that Texas would then go for state representative lines and state senate lines, and they would have no hesitation about wiping me and others out, period.
And not just you, the voice, the people you represent. I mean, I think that, John, I mean, I'm hearing you and others who think I'm not making, this is transpartisan. See, every 750,000 people in the United States are supposed to have a representative, period. That's the way it's supposed to work. And if you have a Congress that does not have black, brown, yellow, red, LGBTQ plus women in these seats, we're going to get very different legislation. And your daughter, your son, our lives are going to be very, very different. And it won't be for the better. I mean, you can go on about trans surgeries and all of that if you want to. You can have that. That's not what this is about. really.
Mhm.
This is about something else. This is about um, Reverend Gray. This is really about our way of life. And
Well,
I think we've
yeah.
taken so much for granted.
Mhm.
I mean, because our foreparents did their job. I mean, Frederick Douglass, Fannie Lou Hamer, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend
Mhm.
Jackson, your brother. Look, Reverend Frank Watkins, Jack Odell, all these folks, they did their job now.
Right.
Now, I
You,
mean,
you, you know, I mean, you've said it, and again, thank you for continuing to bring it up. A lot of us listen to the argument by way of the Supreme Court um, uh, mechanism, the .org. We were able to listen in. And so you're right. We heard the arguments, we heard the questions. Representative is right. If you just listen to the questions that the Supreme Court justices asked, you can basically tell where their mindset was. And you're right. And this does go back, Santita. It goes back to Shelby versus Holder. It goes back to the whole idea of removing the pre-clearance section out of it, where government, in order to make major changes to maps, particularly in redistricting, that states had to get prior approval. They had to get a prior clearance to ensure that they were not drawing the maps that would dilute black voice and black votes and black voting strength,
women, as
and
they had done previously, because
as
you have
they
to
had
have a
done.
history of it, right?
Exactly. And so when they removed that pre-clearance section, it began to open the door. And we saw at that time, and if you think about it, you had more people voting back then. You had the Obama campaign, you had more people voting. Black numbers, brown numbers had gone up, young numbers had gone up. And so uh, that movement began around there, and they never, and when I say they, and I agree with you. I'm a independent Democrat, so I'm an
Yeah,
independent Democrat. I
absolutely.
voted I voted both ways. So this is about the Republican Party and a very insidious, strategic campaign to dilute black and brown voting strength in this country.
Women,
And
can, can, can
and
I can I stop you right there?
sure,
Can I interrupt you
sure,
there? Because I don't know if you heard Congressman Jackson talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene,
mm,
and she's had to announce publicly, "I am not suicidal."
mm,
My brother said he actually feels for a lot of his Republican colleagues because
yes.
the Proud Boys have been escorted into the chambers and they are
Yeah,
sitting and they're literally in the gallery watching your congressman vote.
yeah,
Because you can't do that in the Senate. You can do that
right,
on the House side, the
right,
people's house.
right.
And so she is taking a courageous stance by saying, hey, I've got grown children
Mm-hmm.
who are past 26. I can't cover them on my insurance. Their insurance
Right,
premiums
right.
will double. Now we have to do something because this is crazy because she's looking at her district.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's doing. Thomas Massey's looking at the people he lives with, lives amongst. A lot of these people, they want to vote another way,
Right.
but they've been compromised by their donations. They've been physically threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I mean I just wanted to make that point, Reverend Darrell Gray.
No, you're right, and they've been threatened to be primaried as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. And when you have Congressman Green, who has been one of the biggest standard bearers for right wing political um, controversy.
Mhm.
She was absolutely right, and uh, I think that what most people don't realize is that what the Democrats are fighting for. I mean, redistricting is one issue, but even with the shutdown, and the shutdown is impacting all of America. Now, obviously, when America catches a cold, Black America catches pneumonia, Brown
Mm.
America catches pneumonia, but you've got more poor people. You got more white Americans who will be affected if the Republicans have their way. You're talking about rural hospitals being closed down. You're right. You're talking about insurance premiums going up, not just for people in the inner city,
Mhm.
but for Americans across the board. And like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman Greene said that if the Republicans have their way, then those premiums they go up 100%. They're paying
Absolutely.
double, right? And so you're absolutely. I'm glad. I'm glad that in this case. Uh, as I said before, Dr. King said our allies are chosen based upon necessity. I'm
Mhm.
glad in this case that she is an ally. She's an ally on the Epstein situation. But
She's an ally on Gaza.
you're absolutely right. So you're right about this. But people have got to know, and we've got to break this down to people as clearly as possible. But right now, Santita, we're putting out the redistricting fire. We're putting out the urban city occupation fire. We're putting out the federal freeze, where people are being, the jobs are being frozen, people are being laid off. Uh, the shutdown is real. I mean, every time you turn around in Black and brown and poor communities across this country, we're having to deal with something new. We've got, when you look at this freeze and you look at really what has been affected by this freeze, small businesses have been affected by this freeze because there are departments whose agencies cannot operate because either because of the freeze or because this administration has gone in and gutted programs. And so you've got so much that is going on at one time, and that strategy is deliberate. And so I'm glad that you continue to work with organizations and people around the country to help unpack that so
Mhm.
that people see that it affects all of us. It doesn't just affect, you can't say on this one, oh, that's just a Black people's issue, or that's just a brown people's issue, or that's just an illegal immigrants issue, or that's, you can't say that. You can't say that in this case. It
Eh,
becomes all of our issues.
Well, and the piece that we keep missing or burying, when people say that, oh yes, the illegals, and no
Mhm.
one on earth is illegal, the
Right.
undocumented, that they're treated in the hospitals. That is a Reagan era piece of legislation that was approved
Mhm.
by the Congress
Right.
in 1986, that anyone who fell into illness, got into an accident in the United States of America, that
Mhm.
we would treat them the way we are treated when we go to other countries.
That's right.
Okay? Because if
Mhm.
I get sick in France, if I get sick in England, if I get sick anywhere, the first thing they do, because it would be a violation of the Hippocratic Oath if they did
That's
not.
right.
First, they take care of you. That is where that comes from. So I don't know how anyone could be so heartless as to say that if you're watching someone bleeding on the street, or if
Mhm.
they've had an accident, or if they get sick, that you don't treat them. That's
You're
what that
absolutely right.
is.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
that's what that is.
And what is interesting to your point, and you just raised a great point that I don't think a lot of people pay attention to. Those who argue that, well, if quote unquote illegal aliens get sick and they go to the hospital, they get treated. Well, most of the time they've got to go to some urgent care, they've got to go to the
Mhm.
emergency room. That's how they have to go. But as you just said, that applies to anybody. That applies to anybody uninsured. It doesn't just apply to so-called illegal aliens or undocumented people.
Mhm.
It applies to anyone who does not have, who is not covered by health insurance. So they can go. So if you're trying to make that argument, then the best case situation would be universal health care.
Well, you know which FDR tried. Well, Teddy
Right.
Roosevelt tried to do it. FDR tried to do it. Truman tried to do it. The problem has always been that in the midst of that discussion was
Hmm.
that Black people would get health care. Now it's
Right. Right.
so-called illegals will
Right.
get health care. They'll get the health care. And so some people who don't deserve it are going to get it. So we have to deny it to everybody.
Hmm.
And look, my mother says, you can't hurt me without hurting yourself.
Wow.
That is look, so now you've got an insurance industry which has morphed into this beast. So if you're very ill, you've got to go through business people
That's right.
because what we're doing is
That's
paying them.
right. That's
What we
right.
need to do is cut all of this out and get a universal single payer system. Look at the VA system.
That's
Look
right.
at the Canadian system. Look at the British system. Look at where they have flaws
That's right.
and correct them. That's what everybody does. Instead of saying that VA doesn't work, that's not true. It does work.
It
Instead
does
of
work.
saying that the Canadian system doesn't work, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And where they fail, where the British system fails, then fix it.
Listen, I grew up. You know, my mother, God rest her soul, Canadian citizen. Half of my relatives are Canadian citizens, so I've seen that system work. Don't get me wrong. There's no perfect system. There may be some that says, well, as a result of that, the wait time might be a little longer, but not if it is an emergency situation. The wait time is not long at all, and the medical profession gets paid extremely well. Now, granted, granted, now the taxes are going to be a little bit higher, but when you have it, when you have universal health care, when you have universal education, which Canada has, then no one is left out, and those who can afford to assist the least of these. At the end of the day, Santita, your family lived in it. Who is my neighbor? Those of us who are able to help, those of us who are not able to help themselves, have an obligation. And so you're right. Canada has a very good healthcare system. We've been talking about it. I know Bernie Sanders has talked about it. I know AOC has talked about it. There are other progressive Congress people who have talked about it. It is doable.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. The people who push back on such a system are people who benefit from us not having one. And so that's what you've got to look at. You've got to ask the question. Well, it goes back to the age-old saying, show me the money, follow the money. Who benefits from us not having universal health care or a single payer system? Who benefits from this? And it is corporation. And so, listen, I'm glad that we have people like Congressman Jackson and others who are fighting this fight, and that's the reason that you have the redistricting and the gerrymandering going on right now to try to reduce the number of Congressman Jonathan Jacksons and others, Congressman Cleo Fields and Congressman Emmanuel
Yeah.
Cleaver and others who continue to fight for the least of these and challenge corporations and challenge lobbyists and big pharma. And so, I mean, that's the reality of that. And you
Absolutely.
asked that question. You asked that question, Santita. If you look at, I mean, there are maps that are out there, and I looked at one this morning. The number of Democratic Congress people that we will lose, and you've said it, it's not the individual that we're losing. We're losing the ability of 750,000, 250,000 people in a congressional district, whatever that number is.
It's 750,000 per.
Right. We're
That
losing
that's what
that
they
voice.
represent. Yeah.
Right. That's the voice that we're losing. We're losing those voices. We're not losing one voice. We're losing 750,000 voices times the number of congressional districts that they can demolish. And so you're absolutely right to bring this up. And if you think about it, if you think about the timetable that this is all geared to impact the general election of 2026. Well, What are we talking about? We're talking about right now a um, a congressional house where Speaker Johnson, if he loses two, three, maximum four Republicans, that turns everything upside down for Republicans.
Mhm.
And so they're looking at the numbers. Republicans are looking at the numbers in 2026 based upon the dismal approval rating of this president, based upon the dismal approval rating of Republicans in Congress, and what they're doing vis-a-vis the shutdown, the occupation, redistricting, all of these items, issues that people are not, that the American people, not just black, but that the American people are not happy with. Uh, and so they're looking at that and saying, wait a minute, we're going to have trouble in 26. They're looking at races across the country in Florida, excuse me, congressional races,
Mhm.
special elections where Donald Trump and Republicans won by double figures a couple of years ago, where they barely won in single figures just this year.
Well,
Two
wait.
congressional seats. Yeah.
Daryl, all you have to do, Reverend Gray, excuse me, all you have to
You can
do is
say
look
Daryl.
at,
You can say Daryl to
well,
me
no,
anytime.
no, but you have a handle, and that's important. When we are
Yes,
offline,
yes,
but I
ma'am.
think it's important for people to know that you are a minister of the gospel, and that's
Yes,
very
ma'am.
ordained and all of that. And so you
Yes, ma'am.
bring that to this conversation.
Yeah.
Also, an understanding of public policy, which is why Reverend Jackson encouraged you to go into the ministry as he was encouraged to do, as opposed to law school. You
Right.
and he were headed in the same direction. He said, no, I
Right.
need more space. That having been said, what we're looking at, um, it is, we're already watching this, we're watching a change. Anytime you've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene on gospel,
Mm,
you've
right.
lost her on
Right.
the Epstein files, you've lost her on healthcare, and she is telling you,
Mm,
look, everybody, I am not suicidal. And guess what? She has the backing of her district. There's some people who disagree with her,
right.
but guess what? She is embodying a populism that we thought that Trump was embodying, which
Mm,
is why people were toggling between Bernie and Trump,
right.
because he was the one who took out the whole field of Republicans on the lie about Iraq.
Hmm.
I mean, there were so many things that he was saying. I was like, you know what? He's making a lot of sense here. Wait a minute. I mean, on some things he was, but
Right.
then he got in, and I don't know. Well, the thing is, your number gets called. I get
Right.
it, but she is embodying where the country is going. Thomas Massey is letting you know where the country is going.
That's right.
They're calling out. They're calling out stalwart Democrats who are black. I mean, I just saw an interview with Cory Booker, and they called him out on his
Hmm.
funding. I
Right.
mean, and it's happening to everybody. So hold on, everybody, hold on. We're not that far apart. A lot of things are going to change. We're living in a time of tremendous change. Before we, because we have to run on over. You're joining me in the next hour as we talk
Right.
about what's been happening in Chicago with ICE. I want you to close this out here because we're going to continue to talk about this issue. But everybody, you might have been watching the news. You saw a young African American, a 19-year-old kid. They chased him into Walgreens.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, they were running, they were chasing people in Walgreens, and they were masked. It angered the judge here. She said, "No, no. First of all, this masking thing is not going to work." And there is something that is going on now, because they are, for those of you who are watching the influencers who are telling us that they're not taking citizens, they are. Apparently he had
That's
crashed
right.
a car, and it had nothing to do with immigration. So we're going to talk about that coming up in like a couple of minutes. But Reverend Darrell Gray, the social action director of the Progressive Baptist Convention, is one of the largest black religious conventions in the world, 2.5 million people. What do you want us? What should our takeaway be with this Voting Rights Act that could be gutted? It looks like they're about to do that.
I think that we need to be on the swivel on this one. The Supreme Court is has warned us that this was going to happen. They've tried to do it twice. in 2010, 2011. It will have a reverberated effect across this country. You already have North Carolina, Indiana, other states who are talking about doing the same thing. It could impact our lives exponentially. I mean, and I think that we need to call out. I think the representative said it. We need to call our representatives, be they Republican, Democrat, Independent. Let them know that we're not favor, and we need to start preparing to have this fight on the state level. We need to begin to do that. There are ways, there are organizations that are working towards that end. This is halftime. We need to
That's
come
right.
out of the locker room. This is halftime. We need to come out of the locker room with a plan. Organizations are doing that. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved.
And get registered to vote. We can vote our way out of this, but you got to make it happen. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in 1 minute.